What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Today with me are two very special guests. I know it got to be special if I'm doing two for one. I only do this in certain places. It's the anniversary of the podcast, so I thought I'd bring back some of the first guests, actually the first two guests, if I'm being honest, the first two guests of the podcast. We went back all the way to college. There was episode 1 and episode 3. And they were filmed like in the same period, but I decided to spread them out. So if you want to go visit their story and get back into like where they are and how they got to their journey today, check out episode 1 and check out episode 3. But without further ado, Jabril Hart with the Boston Red Sox, and then Richard Goode with the 76ers. That we wearing cap day today. And I'm gonna give a bit of a disclaimer because y'all know this is more of a serious podcast, so I'm gonna try to keep it serious. But we've known each other for so long, it may get a little off course, but I'll steer it back. I think I'm good at we're steering it back now. So I'll give a brief little thing. So if you guys seen the first 1 or 3 episodes, I want to say 1 and 2. I'm gonna just say 1 and 2 for the sake of conversation. The episodes was actually filmed at the same house. It was Jabril Hart's house, and so we filmed Richard's in the inside and we filmed Jabril's on the outside, but it was coming from the same house. So if y'all ever seen that house, that was a fun fact. I thought I'd give that out there as a fun fact. But to transition into a lot of people that heard my story, or if you heard the first episode, when I talked about my suicide attempts, and I say, I text a few of my friends, like, take care of my son, I don't want to be here anymore. These were two of the people that I text. And I didn't get to ask either of y'all on it, and I guess either one, whoever for answer it first. What was it like receiving a text like that from somebody? Is it Red just being crazy? Like, how did y'all feel receiving some text? Because the text messages came back in the morning, actually, because I think y'all was asleep. It was late at night, and mind you, they were in college still, so I was home. I had just left school. They were still probably waking up for an exam, and it's like, wait, I got to go to my class in the morning. I'm waking up to a suicide message. And so I just want both of y'all opinion on that part.
You want to go first, bro?
Yeah, I can go. I could say me, and this is probably the wrong way to handle it, right? I don't think I took it serious when I first seen it. And I think that's usually the problem, when people have kind of the suicide cry outs and stuff like that. I don't think I took it serious in the sense of it's Reg, so you kind of didn't think it was true or could be or whatever. So I think at first, I think when I first read it, I don't think I took it serious. And I think I don't remember exactly, but I think I hit you back wait, what? One of those kind of things. But that was kind of the initial, what is he talking about? That was kind of the initial response from me.
Right. I can tell you the same thing, honestly. Back then, that was a couple years ago, so wasn't as.
It was 1920.
Yeah.
We was that was how old we was. We was 1920, not the year. That's what I was talking about, yo. We were 19, 20 years old.
No, so yeah, being 19 and 20, I can speak for me. I didn't take mental health as serious as I do now, right? And depending upon when you texted me, I might have been asleep, like you said, about to go to class, doing whatever. And I don't think I probably took it as serious as I should have. Like bro said, that's a lot of issues that we face anyway, not taking things serious. So, but also you being you back then, more than now, you was
no, and you're right. And so that's the transparent moment of the transition of me and the involvement and maturity of me, because I can see why they wouldn't have took it serious. And mind you, they were almost, and Rich said in his episode, in episode 1, of you're almost in a shell almost when you're in college. It's a world within college, and then it's a world outside of college, and you kind of not within that world. So I'm texting them this, and we even went through arguments where they couldn't come to the baby shower. It was just two different worlds. And once I grasped that understanding of that, I'm okay. Now in that moment, I was pissed off, but it was two different worlds. And so I thought it just gives some validity to the story when you no, this is how somebody can receive the message. Is there anything I could have did in that moment for y'all to take it serious
though? For me, I think maybe if you said like, "Yo, this, and this is going on," it's kind of weird the way I'm putting it, but this, and this going on, so I think I'm about to do something. I might have took it a little bit more serious then, but just the random like, I'm out
statement. I'm out. Maybe like, hey, yo, I'm feeling like this. We talk to you or something like that. Because when you, that kind of, yo, take care of my kids, like, what? Like,
right? Like you kept telling college kids to take care of it. Like, wait, what? Huh? Nah, it's true. You got anything to add to it, Rich?
I was just saying, it is weird to say, hey, have a more of an explanation for you having suicidal tendencies, but for in terms of us three in our relationship, maybe kind of vocalizing it a bit more, knowing that we used to each other's randomness, and it might have just been like one of them things like, hey, all right, Red's tripping, I'm hollering in the morning, yo, what's up, you good? Yeah, my car ran out of gas, I couldn't get home. Like something like that. You know what I mean?
And to their credit, they both hit me that in the morning. They both hit me. Like I got y'all, everybody. Dre will get on eventually. I don't know how I'm gonna get him on, but he came in the one that was actually the one that pulled me off the bridge. But to their credit, they blew my phone up the next morning because that was mind you again, because we don't have the vocabulary words that I didn't know I had 2 suicide attempts in one time. You know what I mean? And so I didn't consider the bridge one as a suicide attempt, but of course, over time I've learned that. But I don't know if y'all even knew that I went into the house, like, because it didn't solve the problems once Dre took me off the bridge. I just took all these pills that's in the medicine cabinet. Like, I took all these pills that was in the medicine cabinet and was like, yo, I just wanted the pain to stop. And so that was like 2 suicide attempts in one night. And again, being 19, 20, you don't know the severity of any of that once you in that space. So I don't know. I don't even know if there's any way to talk to an 18 and 19-year-old. It's like implanting them seeds with them and letting them know, like, you kind of want to check on the strong friend because he may be talking loud, but he hearing on the inside.
Yep. Yeah, check on the strong friend, the weak friend, one in the middle, all that. Like, I've been with your people. Like, that's important.
Nah, it's true. So, to transition, I would love to see y'all opinion on the growth of the podcast since the first and third episode, whatever order y'all want to go in, just on your outside view, because it's way different than what it started out to be. So I'm pointing at if anybody that's just listening to it, I'm pointing at the frame that I got with the podcast being featured in the newspaper. So I just would love to hear y'all perspective. This is me trying to relish on my friends saying, "Oh, I'm so proud of you."
All right.
20,000 download Reds, that's big speaker. So, I think for one is consistency, right? I think we were speaking about it earlier, your actual interview tact, right? You know how to interview people now versus in the beginning, you were just kind of, so yeah, are you crazy? Like, what's going on with you? Like, what's up with you? You know what I mean? Like, you learn, like, you become not only an advocate for mental health, and we spoke about before you became an activist for mental health as well, but you learn what you're doing, right? So, like, you got more tools in your toolbox to ask questions the right way and really speak to people and really make them comfortable and make sure their story is developed correctly versus, yeah, so, yo, how you feeling? Like, you want to crash your car today?
Right.
Yeah, man.
Bro.
Yeah, to me, I think it's night and day. So, when I answer questions, I'm kind of black and white, and it's usually a little blunt. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but like from the first episode to now, like the first one, if you compare them, it's not trash. But
it's like, trash. And mind you, I'm talking about the ones we did all together. Yeah, like each one
I think over time, it turned into more of a conversation with people on your podcast versus a Q&A session. And also, I think at a point you transition into understanding the mental health space, the mental health field, versus just asking questions on it.
No, that
So,
is so true.
so that, you know what I mean? So like, it's not, you're not really thinking anymore. You're just doing it because it comes natural, which, you know, comes when you either train and educate, some type of specialization or focus on something, you usually transition to that. And the transition into that actually happened a lot faster than you would think. As Rich said, 20,000 downloads and all your other little accolades that you like to throw up in there every time we start talking, but whatever, I'm not getting into that. So yeah, it happened a lot faster, and it's good that it transitioned.
Hey, listeners, I only flex with them. I never flex behind and on front. I only talk to them about certain stuff. They actually putting the numbers out there. I have never spoke on the numbers of what the downloads of the product.
They're not gonna believe you. They're gonna believe us. So it's cool.
People.
We can say anything at this point.
No, they can, and now they're gonna take it.
You never told us where we get it from.
But listen, I'm not saying y'all lying, but y'all putting out. I never flex. I do what I do, and I just chill. Like, but I do think when I first started off, it was just trying to ask the harshest questions, almost like shock jock. Like, what can I get out of people? And now it's more of like, bro said it best. Like, it's a conversational piece now. Of like, because I got questions, but it's just like it's going in the flow of the conversation now, instead of trying to force like, all right, talk about when you were raped or talk about this, and it was like, all right, let's not go too deep into those type of things. It's like, let's talk more so of the mindset and the treatment and things like that. So I can talk about a harsh subject like rape, Rich, but I can also transition into a, you know, how have you been coping with going through a traumatic situation like being molested or anything like that. So I could come off harsh or I could come off gentle. I just learned how to do it though over time. But so, Rich, I'll start off with you because you were episode 1, and then I'll go to Bro. We talked a lot about fatherhood in your relationship with your dad and your expectations as a father. I don't know if you remember what you said, but do you think any of it has changed since the 2 years? Because now we're closer to 30, as opposed to how we was before. We was like 28. Around there, 27, around there.
Yeah. I think for me, I was talking to my cousin about this yesterday, but I was speaking about like my pops only really knew what it meant to be a father. Like, he kind of had to develop it because his father wasn't in his life like that. You know what I mean? So he didn't really have no example. Oh, damn, this is how a father's supposed to be. So for me, you know, I take what I can take from him, my step pops, my uncles and all that, and kind of develop even you, you know what I mean? Like I tell you all the time, you are outstanding father. So I take from fathers around me to develop the father I want to be one day. So also just realizing that people is human. Like they don't really know, they trying to figure it all out. Nobody perfect. So realizing the humanity of our parents.
No, that's a great quote. I'm gonna quote that up and put that up. The humanity of our parents, and to transition it into Bro, we talked about how his father passing and how it affected him or didn't, the lack of affected him. But Bro, I just did an episode with my stepfather, and I think that's honestly, and Rich, we can come back to you off of that too. How important was having a stepfather step up in that, not in place of, but to fill that space of your father not being
there? I think it was important. Like I can't really say specific. I don't know how I would have been without, right? I think it definitely did handle some, like, so I do have that like non-emotional side at times, but I think maybe if I did not have a father at all, I might be kind of harsh or not passionate in certain areas. So I think that's definitely key, and I think him stepping up and being around made life better. I think when I was younger, I kind of wondered a lot, like, why did my dad get killed? Like I remember because I only have like one memory of my father, and it's the funeral. So yeah, I think that kind of helped out a lot.
Yeah, and he talked about that in the first episode. So if anybody's seen the first episode, he went into details about how his father got shot and how it impacted him. So to get more into that, go check out episode 3. But going into Rich, he had his stepfather as well, and I know y'all buying just as tight. You know what I mean? And y'all have them deep conversations. And I don't want to speak for you, but some will say it's deeper than the conversations you and your dad have. You know what I mean? Because y'all go into detail about certain stuff that you would want to go into with your dad, but he may not be in that space to want to have those conversations. So you can detail more of that or have that and tell your story on that.
So I'd say, I mean, I have, as years went on, I've been able to have the same conversations I had with my step-pops that I have with my dad. They both, whatever Jay-Z is, a Sagittarius, they both Sagittarius, and they cut from the same cloth in terms of like they just who they are. So having those conversations with them as I get older, as I grew into manhood, right, it was easy for me to have those conversations with them. And it's a not random, it's a very rare thing that they cool, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they solid, so it's always all love. And I'm appreciative of that, right? The fact that my dad and my step-pops have a great relationship, and the fact that, you know what I mean, the whole goal is, you know what I mean, raise this young man up, you know what I mean, and everybody play their part. So for me, I'm grateful for, of course, for my dad and also my step-pops, because I learned different things from them. They're different people, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
hey,
I'm grateful. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you don't speak. You go ahead. You the guest.
I'm honestly, I'm grateful, I'm grateful for both of them, right? Because I'm able to learn different sides of the coin, but the same coin, because the brothers are similar.
Well, that one of the things you made claim on the first episode that we found was that the sins of a father casts on the son. And I don't know if you want to add on that, but I would love bro perspective on that, because does he feel like in some way he's exhibiting the sins of his father even in his absence? That was a bomb question.
Well, that boy gonna say that, ain't he? You gonna say that, ain't you?
Before you answer, right? I want to say one thing. Notice he said earlier in the podcast that he was not bigger than himself.
It's y'all. I swear, audience, it's them. They bring out a different side of me. But, bro, go ahead and answer. I'm going to put my own.
Sins of a father. Do I think the sins of my father trickle down to me? So, all right, I would really like to answer, but I just really don't know. Like, I know I kind of cut off earlier when I was talking, the dog came in. But, like, I really don't have any memory of my father. So I really don't even know what I'm taking.
What about the sins of his absence?
I think it would be more like it made me question a lot. It turned out okay because I question a lot now with the benefit of it. It made me question a lot, like about life, higher power, all that kind of stuff. Because it was like, well, why, like my dad got killed. And then even like given this time, my dad got killed by a white guy because my dad's dog barked at him, right? So think of the climate we in.
Didn't know that.
Should I hate white people? And then even if you want to like fast forward, I got a dog now. So when I'm walking my dog, this is gonna happen to me. So it probably made me like real like curious and question a lot. So I would say I think that's kind of, you want to go off like what was passed down, even though it's kind of inadvertently passed down. It made me question a lot, both good and bad.
Nah, bro, Rich, you had anything to add on that?
Idiot.
Well, I'm going to come back to that with that whole situation. That's coming at the end. He jumped the gun a little bit, but I'm coming back to that.
I mean, you know what? He did what he had to do with that question, brother. That's him. That's him. It's him. Lord.
So Rich, in your episode, you talked about how you dealt with depression, and I titled it how you didn't want to be here anymore because of the stresses, and how you handle depression and anxiety, or the stuff we put words on it now, but how you handle it now versus then. Now, that was when you was in college where we were talking about how do you handle when you have a depression episode, or how do you handle it any different than you used to? Like as a man coming into manhood, do you handle it any different?
You know, it was funny. Like a month and a half ago, I had like there's a day I'm like, yo, I don't. It was like just hard. Like, you know what I mean, working from home on a new job and even working on entrepreneurial stuff and acting, whatever the case may be. You know, these stressors, rather, right? Pandemic, revolution going on outside, right? All these things. Feel like I'm not doing stuff that matter. I sat down on the couch, like, yo, damn, I want to stop, but I can't. Like, it ain't falling on nobody else but you. You know what I mean? So, find a way to recalibrate for me now. You know, working out, or like even talking to y'all, like, you know, rapping to y'all, getting out the house, which is a rarity right now because everybody in the house. You know, talking to loved ones, taking time just to relax, you know, get my mind off things that are stressing me. That's how I handle it now. Back then, and let me know if I'm jumping the gun. Back then, you know, we didn't really know how to label how we felt, right? I just know I felt crazy. I know this feeling like I felt worthless. Like all y'all was home. You know what I mean? All y'all was home. Bro was, I think he was in Delaware. He was in Delaware working. You was back home with the family working. And everybody else, like back home, they left school. Y'all left school. I'm like, damn, I was up here. I was broke. Never been that broke a day in my damn life. Yeah, I was broke. Oh yeah, so like, you know, me dealing with that and not really knowing how to process it, right? It was like maybe easier just not to be here, right? Because I just felt like it wasn't really an out to any of this. Like, you know, how do I deal with this? And the only way I can think about quieting the noise would be the idea of suicidal ideation, right? Of like, it's not necessarily doing it, but like, yo, maybe I just check out. Or I'm gonna just, you know what I mean, you know, be out. This all this will be done. But now, you know, it's more people depend on you now as you get older, right? You know, friends and family and all that stuff. So it's like, for me, it's not as easy as like, oh, yo, I'm about to be out. It's more so like, yo, let me recalibrate, me recognizing like the triggers, right? Me feeling, you know, me knowing how I'm gonna feel, or how I'm feeling rather, and knowing I need to tap in to getting that out of my system. You know what I mean?
No, and that transitions right into Bro, because we titled his episode, or again, I titled his episode. Some people confuse hopelessness with depression, and it wasn't false because we didn't know more, but he was right in a sense of once I've been doing all this mental health studying, if your hopelessness lasts more than 2 weeks, then that is considered into a depressive episode. And so you have to be in it for a longer period of time. Like, and what Bro was saying is like, you can have a bad day or you can have like a week or even a couple of days, but once it's like, that don't mean you're depressed all of a sudden.
Right.
It has to have some type of period of time behind
I
it.
do remember.
Say it again, Rich.
I say I remember you went out a little bit. I do remember him saying it from this episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when the question that I got for Bro is what Rich just said, when everybody's transitioning on and they going into their lanes and to their lives, how do you come with the fact of you leaving people behind? You know what I mean? Whereas it could be like, yo, I want Rich to be right next to me. I want Reg to do this too, and I want the best for everybody, but you got to still do what's best for you. And that could be stressful. That can mess you up because now all the people that you came up with, you no longer around as much. So how do you deal with that?
I think like it's an acceptance piece. So like I'll kind of take I'm a Gemini, so I'll kind of take the yin. Well, you know, you are too. I'll take the yin and the yang approach, right? Which is kind of like everybody. It's the whole analogy. Like everyone can't be a boss because then you don't got nobody working. So I kind of somewhat take that approach, and I don't necessarily like take anything away from anyone, depending on where they go, right? So like, so just high level answer is like, I think everyone is shaping out and going into the role or progression where it's almost like where they're meant to be, but I'm not one that says like someone has to stay there. So let's say where they're meant to be right now, or where they're meant to be at the moment. So when it comes to like you're saying, kind of if you're progression and you're leaving someone, I'm part of the fact, like I'll help, I'll try to help, I'll try to pull, but I'm not gonna do it for you. So I still got that kind of stern thing where it's like, yo, you still gotta do the legwork. I'll push you there. So as far as like leaving people, it's like it's like a necessary evil that I've almost accepted. And the way we're talking about, it's not really leaving people; it's just moving in a different lane. But it's like a necessary evil that you kind of have to almost accept. Otherwise, if you dwell on it too much, it pulls you into that hopeless. Then you move into the depressive state, and then you can actually hurt yourself by, trying to, bend over backwards for the next person.
Mm-hmm. Nah, and that's a fact, because you know what they say is called survivor's remorse. Like, and I get that sometimes where I feel bad for some of the accomplishments I get. And that it kind of messes me up, and it's like I don't even like. I'm still embarrassed to show some of that stuff. I've been had that stuff for years, and I just didn't want to put it out there. And so it's like I want to keep it to myself as much as they think I don't. I want to keep it to myself and not show it off, because it kind of be like, you know what, like that's cool for me, but if you ain't there, like you don't want nobody else to see
it.
Yeah. Rich.
Mm-hmm.
This is going more towards me and your personal conversations about bro sometimes, where his approach to certain things of like non-emotional, and how it makes us feel sometimes like he don't care. And we have another friend where it really affects him. And so how do you take bro not really, talking about his emotions? Like we be wanting him sometimes to give more, but and we sound like we're in a relationship, but we are, but we want him to give more of himself. we got him cornered now.
They duped me.
How does it feel though, like on your end, about him not expressing his emotions? He gotta sip his wine.
To the table. No, I think and to answer your question, right? We know, for one, we all know each other for more than 10 years now, right? And you learn, I would say we're family by now. You learn your family, you learn your people. Brill can be very emotionless, or lacking emotion, rather, right? But he cares. It's odd, right?
It is.
He'll give his shirt. He'll give you the shirt off his back, but he's also like,
and it'd be a nice shirt.
You shouldn't have left the house without a shirt on. Like,
right,
oh, wait, that's your fault.
Right. Here, man.
Yeah,
so
I'll throw the shirt at you.
Yeah. Or they give you socks, right, Reggie? Like socks.
No, it's you playing, but I'm gonna take it over and say, like, he's the reason why I got my license. He used to let me drive around Shippensburg University without a license, and he said, if you get caught, that's on you. And I'm gonna tell him you took my car, and I took that, and I just took the chances because I wanted to learn how to drive. Right. So he cares differently, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, and they take it as like, oh, he don't care, or he don't show any emotion, but it's like, no, it's just differently, and it's you either take it or you leave it. Now this question is for both of y'all, and y'all can answer how y'all want. I'm not going to go too deep into anything. There's a term that's been very trendy called toxic masculinity, and I know we played a part in toxic masculinity. If y'all look at the board over here in the corner, I got an interview with them. I said the Cardi Boys, and so we were throwing parties on campuses. We had it was a time period where we had the campus in our hands, in the palm of my hands. I'll say that. And so again, y'all can answer any way that y'all want to answer, but I know we had to change our ways and perceptions around toxic masculinity. Now, I don't know who wants to take the question on first, but I've accepted my wrong, and I needed to do a lot of education, a lot of conversation, a lot of apologizing. So how do y'all feel about toxic masculinity? I'm muting.
I'll take it first. Yeah, I think back then we was a smidge toxic. But I think that's because like back then we was just doing stuff. Like we was just we was in college, we was being college people, we was just doing whatever. So yeah, I think so. To answer your question, yes, I think toxic masculinity is real. Um, Now, as far as how to address, solve, rectify toxic masculinity, I honestly don't know. I think it's a maturity thing. I think you kind of mature out of that, right? But then again, some people mature later than others. So it's like, do you wait X amount of years for toxic masculinity to die? That's kind of passive. You're just waiting for it to die. So you're not really doing anything about it. That answer, I don't know. I think from our perspective, I think, with me and Rich, like me and Rich still being single and you all familied up and all that. I think we're kind of figuring it out now, and kind of moving towards progression and being like better man.
I agree. I think a lot of it just us unlearning and relearning, right? And like you said, we're maturity. A lot of things we didn't know. We was in college, like just for the most part, it's our first time away from the crib. So we just, having parties, doing this, doing that. So I think a lot of that is just maturity and unlearning and relearning, like doing education and doing the self-work. Like, we're not the same dudes was at 18, 19. You know what I mean? Like, so
I know I'm not. Lord forgive me.
I said we're not. I said we
No,
are.
no, I'm just saying. I think I had a larger transition. I had a lot more groundwork to pick up than y'all.
A little more toxic. But no, seriously, I feel like the term toxic masculinity, is a real thing. I think a lot of it is just like you gotta do the work on yourself, right? Like, you gotta protect women in general, right? Even when it's not convenient, right? I think to add on to the idea of toxic masculinity is like, oh, I'm gonna treat the girl nice because I want X, Y, and Z, not just from the rip like, hey, treat this woman like with respect, like off the rip. You know what I mean?
Nah, and it's true. And one of the reasons why I was saying like I was real toxic, guys, and it hadn't even nothing to do with women. It was more so with the LGBTQ community where I couldn't even be in the room with them because of my family and the background when it comes with Caribbean culture and how they just don't deal with that community. And I've learned that, they're my brothers and sisters too. My sister is gay, and I think she's the flyest of them all. You know what I mean? And if I wouldn't, if I had kept that same mindset, we wouldn't have a relationship. And so that's why I look back on it and I try to overcompensate with some of the work I do now because of how toxic I think I was back then. And so I just know us being Bacardi boys, that's what it was, the Bacardi boys. People knew what time it was. We was getting it turned up, all of that stuff. And it's like, well, we transitioned a whole different way from that now and grew up a lot, like you said, mature wise. But in today's times, coming up to today, how have both of you gentlemen been dealing with COVID and Corona, and how's it been playing with you mental health wise or just your perspective in general?
Where'd you go first?
I can go. Got dark. So beginning of COVID, like seriously, it got dark for me. Like me starting like me moving to Atlanta, top of the year. It was a new job, new city, and I had that many connections, right? So for me, it was like, I started getting involved in the community a little bit, and then it was all taken away from me, right? And me having to be in the house and learn, like I said, learn a new job and me dealing with my stuff, and me being away from my family, my friends, everybody, for the most part, is up north, right? I got some folks down here, but it's different. So for me, it's been like transitioning from being in a kind of like a darker space to like me, being cognizant of how I'm spending my time and me actually knowing when I have triggers, right? So if I feel a certain way, like I said earlier in the podcast, finding ways to de-stress and kind of like I reach out, like I talk to y'all a lot. You know what I mean? Like just talking to y'all, like it helps me like have some connections back home. So, I'm doing better now, but in the beginning it was dark. It was dark, but I'm doing better.
For me, yeah, I would say where Rich is like up and down. Like you get the time, like you get a lot of time right now. So like the beginning of COVID, like I had my little cousin a lot, and we was like together and everything like that. But it's not natural. Like I feel like COVID is like, I don't want to say solitary because that's a big extreme, but it's just not natural. I think like humans, you're not really used to sitting in one place, or being confined to certain places. So for me, yeah, it's like I'll get ways, I'll get like spurts where it's like Rich kind of touched on, like I feel like I ain't really doing that, which I do next. And then I'll get times where I'm like a good maybe 2 weeks straight, like I'm grounded, I'm getting everything I need to get done. So I think it's really teaching you like the time management piece, and just kind of you got to kind of be on your P's and Q's about getting things done. Like even with my business, like I be feeling like I'm lacking. But then it comes to the point like maybe am I doing too much? Maybe I need to sit down and like recharge and actually think, versus all day every day where I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. Oh wait, maybe just do this, and then you start second guessing yourself. So I think COVID is like it's a big overall. I think it's a big like smack in the face for all of us. It'll hit everybody different. Me personally, it hit me different in the sense of like being alone, right? Not being out and about, not being in the mix. Now I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll see when this is over how I act. But yeah, I think it's a smack in the face that I think everyone's gonna learn from, and that people gonna move a little different once we're outside of this and moving forward.
Yeah, it's been a tough transition. COVID has been good and bad. Like just to go piggyback off of what they both said, like I've been having some of the greatest things happening in COVID, but I'm also having some of the worst things happen where my mom lost her job. And so it's like a gift and a curse where it's like I'm just taking it as it is. So it's the same thing. Like Rich moving to Atlanta was supposed to be a good thing for him, like transitioning, like he get to go get closer to his dreams. And now it's like shut down. So dreams on pause until 21. And same thing with Bro is like he's used to running his business, and now all of a sudden he can't run his business now. You know what I mean? And so I think it just hit everybody differently in their own way. And to piggyback off of that, we got to go into talking about police brutality and how us seeing that and how is that affecting us as young Black men, because I found myself having that conversation with Z Money now with my son about police brutality, and so that he know what's going on. And I'll just say to y'all, what have y'all experience been like with police brutality, and even if it didn't happen to you, like a family member, just talking about your experience with it?
You want to go first, bro?
Yeah. I don't think I've experienced it directly as far as like I haven't been like brutalized by cops and nothing like that. Yeah, I mean I have people in my family who have, or I know people who kind of got like beat up by the cops. But like as far as the whole, what do I think of it in relation to what happened? It wasn't so. All right, so police brutality isn't surprising to me. I'm 100%. I'm not saying this right, so I'm not saying that. It's not surprising to me, but it was still the surprising part was that all the doubt that came from non-African Americans. Like I even give you like so my job had a big we talked about it at my job.
Please don't say their name.
I won't. My job, no, I got you. Come on, I know about that stuff. My job, my like the lead had a big town hall and we talked about it, and some of the African Americans talked about what's going on with the community. This guy actually cried and ended the meeting and said, everyone take the day off. Because he was that, and not to shade him or anything like that, he was that out of touch with what was going on. Like he literally, like he sniffled on the call. This is the video call. And he was like, just take the day. And then after that, literally 3-4 people reached out to me from work. Most of them all management, so higher up to me. One of them was straightforward, was like, honestly, I didn't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. So it was more like we're like thinking about you. But yeah, I think that the biggest shock is like the ignorance to it. I say that. Like the ignorance to it from the Caucasian community. I think that would be the biggest shock. Like I think as African Americans, we know what happens. And I don't want to say we accept it, but it's something we live with, because maybe we don't know the path to change it. But yeah, the biggest thing would be probably the acceptance, which I don't know, maybe it's today that's coming to a close. And then the ignorance, maybe that's coming to a close today, which would be a good thing. But that's kind of my opinion on like police brutality in relation to what's going on right now.
All right, Rich, come on, throw your fist up. This when we get ready for that talk, this is who I call. Go ahead, Rich.
So what Brill spoke to about ignorance, right? I feel like in many cases it's a willful ignorance, right? It's used, you know, if something not affecting you, you're not really gonna look into it. That's, you know, that's kind of how stuff goes sometimes. If I don't see this not affecting me, I don't understand how. You just listen to the police. You'll be fine. You know, it's all about, hey, you know, be submissive, right? I told Dr. Herbert in college, right? I said, he was an African-American cop. I said, my issue with white supremacy and police brutality is how much must I bend my back to make someone else comfortable, right? So a lot of that is like, you know, as Black folks, African-American community, however you want to use it, right? We often feel as though we gotta be super aware of what's going around just so we can live, right? And not having that constant stress of, you know, when we see a police car right behind us, how that makes us feel. I just said that y'all can think of a time when y'all saw a police car around and behind y'all. Y'all know how you tense up, right? How you like, oh, maybe I should stop my car, X, Y, and Z, right? For me, I was literally walking, and this really speaks to white supremacy, really. I was walking, I was working out, and I found myself about to turn the track, and I saw a Caucasian woman, white woman, walking ahead of me. So I literally stopped and slowed down just so she won't think, oh, this person is attempting to X, Y, and Z, right? And I'm not sure that, you know, even when you turn people of color, but specifically Black folk, have to think of that when they go out, right? A lot of the ways, us three in particular, how we move is so we don't got to deal with the police or deal with, you know, the idea of white supremacy, right? Have to deal with that idea of like, damn, I got to make sure I can make it back home. You know what I mean? So.
No, it's the truth, and I was just talking to Lisa about it the other day, and I think and bro, I think bro just said, or Rich, one of y'all just said it, where we deal with it so much that it just become a part of our normal every day. You know what I mean? Like Rich said, I know to slow down when I'm running next to a white woman, or so that way she don't get offended, or when the cops behind me, I know to like, you know what, let me go in this gas station even though I don't need gas, and just to limit the interaction and minimize the much of the impact that it'll make. But I was saying that, talking to Lisa the other day about Lisa's my fiance, guys, anybody that's listening. How me and bro, Rich, I wouldn't say you was there. I think Rich was there with us. But when me and bro was helping AC move when we was in Shippensburg, and he like gave us like a forewarning, like, hey guys, that lady racist over there. And she stared at us the whole entire time. And it's like, when people say racism is dead, it's like, no, it was playing while we was in college.
Yeah. Like I'll even add two more examples, like real fast, since this is such a big topic. Like I've been pulled over with my little cousin in the car. My little cousin probably 11 or 12. I got tents on my car, but I have a tent waiver, right? So when you run my plates, it pops up and says the car has a tent waiver. So we got pulled over. My little cousin, so this way, when we got pulled over, I literally rolled down every single one of my windows because we got pulled over. And let's think on the upside, a white person is not rolling down. Half the time they don't roll their window down, period. Mm-hmm. They'll let you scream through the window. Mm-hmm. So I rolled down all 4 of my windows. And then my little cousin asked, was we going to jail? So when the cop pulled me over, he said, you you limit it. So it was really direct answers. He said, he said, I think he said, well, you know why I pulled you over? I said, no. He said, your windows are tinted. I said, I have a tent waiver. And then he walked back to the car, and then he came back, gave me my license, and we left. So that was like pointless. When you run my plates, tent waiver comes up. Mm-hmm. And then another thing, like just on the insensitivity, right? And maybe, I don't know if it's on purpose or not from Caucasians. On one of the calls for work, one of the white women was kind of saying how she's in a weird place because she doesn't need to know how to tell her son or kid what's going on right now. So like that was her problem. I don't know what to tell my son about what's going on with riots and stuff. Like that's her problem, and it's not. I'm not really bashing her for it, but like in all of this and everything going on, the killing, the police brutality, people popping up dead in custody. Her issue is what do I tell little so and so. So that just talks to like the different, the insensitivity and then the different problems from like different races.
Man, go ahead, Rich.
No, because I know this is.
He about to go on.
Nah, go ahead, Rich. Add to it. This the time. I like to clip stuff up and put it out. I can't say it, but I
want her number. I don't got her number, so you can't call her. I don't know her.
That just speaks to the idea of like how we all deal with different issues, right? Like our issues, like bro, you and I don't have children. We know the conversation you gotta have with our son or our daughter already. Reg, you gotta conversation you gotta have with Z. You know what I mean? And Zai King, right? Like the conversation is not about, hey, I don't know how to address what's going on. It's people burning stuff down, people are angry. Versus, I don't want you to die. So do X, Y, and Z, and hopefully that'll help make you. They'll allow you to make it out, bro. I mean, like God forbid something should happen, but you did everything right. But a lot of people do everything right and it don't turn out that way. You know what I mean? Oh, this how you answer and it's great. You get you X, Y, Z, and that could have been a whole other issue. And you having your cousin in the car. You know what I mean? Like you just saying, it's the perspective and our problems are different. So I think it's lazy. Like, when you said your team lead or wherever it be.
I didn't know I had to tell you to put your phone on do not disturb too.
everything is hooked up my bad. But basically the fact that him crying, and I'm pretty sure he might have felt a way, right? Like understood, like, oh, this is bad, but is that really guilt or like it's like, oh, this happened to people? Oh, like he didn't do it probably. He ain't, doing certain things. It's like, it was that sincere? Not saying he's not a sincere person, but is it like, oh, like you should care about stuff even if it's not happening to you. Just because he knows you and know y'all, he worked with y'all, he cares because he knows y'all. But the idea of true humanity is really care about people and care about issues that are not just happening to you. I mean,
they done got Rich started. Let me get him out of here before he go on. Farrakhan just dropped a speech last week. Get Rich out of here. All right. I got one more question for both of y'all. So to end it off with, Rich. No, I'm going to Bro because Rich, he got to cool down. Bro, you talked about in the first episode about traditional therapy and how you feel like, you know what? It's a two-part question because you talked about two things, and I want to get both of these answers from you. You can talk about to the effect of mental health being a trend during that time because that's when everybody was mental health people. I was in the mix, and how everybody was talking about it. I'm like, man, these people, do they really feel how I feel about it? And you can give your perspective on it. And then the second part of that, it was like you didn't really agree with traditional therapy. It's like I'm about to sit here and tell this person all my problems that has no context of what's going on. So give your perspective on that.
As far as the trend thing, yeah, like back then, and even thinking now, looking back then, yes, I think it was a trend. Now it was people in it, for real, and not just riding a wave, but it definitely was a wave thing. Just like everything else that goes on, it's usually a wave and then it dies down. So, and to me, honestly, I kind of think it died down a little bit, the wave. So yes, I do 100% think it is a trend. However, I will say there is people that truly genuine about it and doing it. But I think there's a lot of people kind of figuring this mental health thing about, let me be an advocate because I think I know it. I think I'm interested, but maybe not. But something that serious, I think you should kind of do the background work and figure out if that's something you're really about before just, diving and getting your feet wet. It's not like you're trying out like coding where you go take a course. This ain't for me and I'm done with it. So I definitely think it's a trend. I think it's fading out now. So now a lot of people who are really about it and really doing it are kind of sticking through it and progressing. Testament, like you hopped in around that trend time, like you said. But I think you can, you don't pat yourself on the back or anything, but I think your uptick has gone past the trend. So that's kind of a testament to that. And then the point about like traditional therapy, I've never done therapy, right? So I'm speaking from that lens. I don't agree with traditional therapy in the sense that like it's blanketed for everyone. Like everyone goes sit on the couch and talk to whoever. That piece I don't. I think therapy should be. I don't know. I think it should be honestly, and I'm going way extreme. Like therapy should be worked out. Like you almost get prescribed therapy for your symptoms. Like if that makes sense. Like not sit on the couch talk, but I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I'm not in that field, like how to prescribe someone, how to determine who needs what. But I think that type of therapy would be better because it's targeting, right? So it's like targeting a problem and then solving a problem versus like just throwing medicine at it, like the medical industry does. That doesn't really solve anything. It just brings you back in 6 months. So that's kind of my opinion on therapy. I think traditional should not be blanketed to everyone, like the cookie cutter approach. I think some type of specialized or targeted therapy would be best for people.
Nah, and you're not saying nothing wrong. I will put more of the definition to it. So with therapy and everything, it's mental health is a spectrum, and you got just people that need self-care routines to the extreme cases of like all over the place and schizophrenia and that diagnosis. The problem happens is like what you said. We kind of blanket everything, especially with people that got no training and no background, didn't go to school. And mind you, even myself, I had to go get some of the knowledge. And so it's going back to these schools and having people getting like that awareness about it, so that way you can learn where you fall at on the spectrum, because it's a wide spectrum, and then you can learn where it's at. And so I agree with it. Even now, like I always say about this podcast, it's not therapy, it's not a replacement to it, it's an alternative. And so where we share therapeutic stories, so you can be on that self-care part of the spectrum where let me listen to Reg's podcast. That's therapy enough. Whereas, no, Reg, you need medicine. And then I don't even get started. I didn't even get into that one yet because pills pay the bills. I learned that like two months ago. Pills pay the bills.
I'm about to jingle.
And so, but I agree. I totally agree that therapy is necessary, but you got to find where you fall at on the spectrum of it. To Rich, my last question is, on your episode, you talked about mental health being, to you, an honest conversation with yourself. And I want to know if you had to have any honest conversations with yourself lately in regards to mental health.
So to answer your question, yes. It's a two-part question. Yes, I think a lot of things, mental health included, we have to have honest conversations with ourselves, right, and really figure out what's really going on, right? Because like to Bro's point, when he said it earlier, it can be, hey, I'm having a bad day, versus something's really wrong here. And we, like you said, mental health is a spectrum, right? It can be anywhere from some self-care needed to you may have some chemical imbalances going on that you need to get worked out, right? A couple months, maybe a month ago, I was trying to find a therapist down here, right? And I'm still looking to do that. Just in order just to have somebody, speak out how I'm feeling, right? Because I can have those conversations and be honest with myself, but if it's not going anywhere, it's just hitting me. I'm talking to my damn self, After a while, if I'm talking to y'all and complaining to y'all after a while, y'all love me, right? But it's like after a while, like, yo, you also have a family. Bro also has everything he has going on, right? I can talk to y'all, but if there's some things I need to fix and talk to someone who doesn't know me, who doesn't have a bias, right? And like you said, bro, hopefully he is someone who specializes in whatever I'm dealing with, right? You don't want, like you said, you don't want a blanketed therapist that really ain't really helping you, taking your damn money, right? You want somebody that knows what's going on and knowing how to assist you the best. So to answer your question, I do think it's still an honest conversation with yourself. That's the start. And then finding those tools, right? Doing the research, whether it's a therapist, whether it's self-care routine, finding what works best for you.
Guys, y'all been amazing. We kept it a lot. I think they got a lot of information. We didn't laugh as much. I'm still trying to find what picture I'm going to use for us, but that's to be determined. I'll put the links to you guys.
He's going to use a picture where he's like big and then we're going to be small. It's going to be like one of those. Like we're going to be like, he David Ruffin. We the temps.
I'll put the links for y'all to follow them, and you can support whatever all that they have going on. And remember that this platform has never been about a replacement to therapy. It's an alternative place where people share therapeutic stories. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and thank you for listening.